We are so excited to be joined by Tita Gemma Dalayoan, one of the founding members and 3 times president of the Manitoba Association of Filipino Teachers Incorporated. It is also known as MAFTI. Later, she became a vice principal. In 1997, she founded the Manitoba Filipino Writers Guild with Leia Magsino and the late Leonie Bailon. Tita Gemma Dalayoan is active in the community. She is a freelance volunteer writer for 3 local journals. She has also self-published a book of poetry entitled Gemma, which is printed by McNally Robinson. Tita Gemma is a recipient of many awards for her contributions to our community, which includes the University of Manitoba Distinguished Alumni Award for Community Service on May 8, 2019. Tita Gemma, you've recently written a book about your journey and experiences. What inspired you to publish the poetry?
Being an illegitimate daughter of a Catholic priest, growing up in a very small town, predominantly populated by Catholics, I grew up being shunned, rejected, and embarrassed by so many people. So I lost my self-worth, my self-identity, and my self-confidence. When I was in college, I started to change my identity. I changed several times. If I was asked as to who was my father, I would change and tell them I was a daughter of a lawyer, sometimes a doctor, sometimes haciendero, haciendero, or a rich man, depending upon the crowd. There's a saying that God sees the truth, but wait, I waited for so long to reveal my identity for fear that I would be rejected again. But I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of hiding. So I live now in a multicultural country where people are open-minded. They are non-judgmental, especially the millennials and the youth like you, Dalagitas. Judianne, the president, is one of my confidant. She is so open-minded and non-judgmental. I also want to model to the youth that they have to have self-worth, self-esteem, not from without, but from within. Okay?
Tita, what is your biggest struggle po as a Filipina and how have you overcome that po?
Okay. We arrived here in 1976. So I'm the first generation Filipino parents who had been socialized and trained in the Philippines and the perspective that men are more superior than women. Women came from the ribs of a man or men. That men are the providers, okay? That they are stronger than women. But that perspective has changed now in Canada. You see, women are now having some reverse role. There's a reverse role now.
Yeah.
And some women are more successful than men. I was like that in the Philippines, that perspective. But when I came here, that whole perspective changed. My husband encouraged me to develop my potential. He supported me. He had been in Brazil for 4.5 years, and we rejoined here. And the two of us thought that relationship and marriage is a teamwork. So at first, for the first 2 years, it was very hard for me because he still retained that macho image. He had been in Brazil. He was one of the chief engineers there, working in a refineries. So he had his own secretary. And so when he came here, he still had that. But then he told me, knowing that I was certified as a teacher, to go ahead. So every year my salary increased and increased and increased till I earned the top salary scale and later became as a vice principal. However, we maintain a good relationship. At first, it was hard for him, but due to my love, patience, and kindness, he changed. I never talked to him about how much I earned. We never talked about that. And I never criticized him. I looked at his potentials and encouraged him to develop his potential. He's a linguist. He speaks 5 dialects, and then he speaks Portuguese, Spanish, and English. And I would brag about those qualities to other people, and he would hear it. So he feels proud. And I usually would entertain his friends too. He would invite his friends, and then I would entertain them, and we would have joyous moments with them. I also learned that we never argued in front of our children, and when he's irate or angry, I listened. I learned that when a person is emotional or irrational, you do not argue because he cannot process information. So I just wait for a quiet moment in a quiet place, and maybe in bed you talk to him about your reason, and then of course romance follows. That's why we have 6 children. Now, in terms of the society, I would like to tell you young generation, because you will be leaders someday, that in my 43 years here in Winnipeg, it was a struggle for women to become leaders. My friend Linda Cantiveros, Jean Guiyang, Pearl Havate, myself, and others, we are still predominantly dominated by Filipino men. But for the past 6 years, there's a void of leadership. So I'm pinning my hope that someday there would be a woman leader who would unite all Filipinos to address issues that we need. For example, poverty, gambling, advocating for good labor workplaces, certification process, and other that are needed in our community.
What are your advice po for youth and especially students like me who are in the Faculty of Education?
Okay. You should know thyself very well, okay? Your strength, your weaknesses. Try to improve your weaknesses and try to preserve your strength. And then you should develop your self-worth. Self-talk is very important. Affirm that you are unique, and you have potentials, and we are cognitively as equal as anybody. We think we are as equal as the Caucasian, okay? Our thinking process is the same as theirs. It's just that the color, okay? But never lose that self-pride that Filipinos and anybody can be equal. Especially we live in a multicultural society. It's my dream and hope that someday the youth will amass wealth, will advocate for, participate in the government, okay, and seek education. As a leader, my dream is that the Filipinos will not only be known as professionals. I want them to reach the top echelon of society, okay? In a multicultural society, we have what we call a big pie, and the earlier settlers are holding the biggest pie, and we'll only have the smallest portion of funding, especially from the government. So we have to strive to the three things I've just said. That you have to have education is very important, and then advocate or be involved in the political process, and you have to save, amass wealth, support Filipino businesses, and be business oriented. Oh, another advice is that I vacillate a lot when I want to do something, but once I decided to do something, I'm very tenacious. I put my passion and soul into it, and I do it slowly. I have one goal even each day. That's why I have written 3 books. The first, Filipino Immigrants in Manitoba, Understanding Filipino Seniors, Their Settlement, Adaptation Process. Those 2 were published by, the first one by the Filipino Writers Guild, which I founded. The second one was published by the Knights of Rizal and the Seniors Association. The third one is self-published by me, the Gemma, the last book which I have written. And it's also very important to have a mentor.
Yeah.
But here's another advice. Someone said to me that the first and the last consultant is yourself. So you get advice, but in the end, you are your own mentor, okay? I also would like the youth to be healthy. That's very important. You can only achieve your goal when you are healthy, both mentally and physically and emotionally too. You also have to save for your old age. It's very important. It's good I started to save, although I did not start because we have 6 children. It was only, I think, in the late 90s when I started saving, because I thought of my old age. And of course, you love yourself. We've been trained and socialized in the Philippines. You know how it is, sacrifice for the sake of your loved ones, which I've done, sending money all the time to my siblings. I can recall that when I arrived here in 1976, and I was a garment worker at first, there was a blizzard. My thought was not saving myself. I was praying to God, and I was praying to God to save my siblings who were suffering from typhoon. Meanwhile, I was in danger.
Yeah.
So my youngest daughter told me, "Mom, you love others more than you love yourself." And lately, Judianne told me, "Love yourself, Tita. Take care of yourself." And thank you for telling me that. And yeah, that's why I'm here at the Amber Meadow Independent Living Residential place.
Tita, self-care is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I sacrifice a lot for my family. Be proud of your cultural heritage. Although there are some values that impede us from integrating into the Canadian society. I have a book which I gave to Judianne, wherein I discuss our 4 Filipino core values, and I try to re-examine them and find out what really make us successful here and what impedes us from succeeding. One of the values we have to re-examine is very predominantly practiced by us is hiya. Hiya is very good in the sense it's used for discipline, but sometimes when we say, "Oh, hiya," you're not ashamed. You go back to your room. Do not interfere with our discussion. You do not, hindi ka na nahihiya?
Yeah.
Okay. So the hiya is
Shy in English.
shy or timid
Timid.
English, but it cannot be explained really literally in English, because there's a whole range of meaning there of the hiya. However, There's a sociologist in the Philippines by the name of Landa Jocano who said that there are no Filipino negative values. It's only the use of these values. Okay? So it's important that we should be proud of our cultural heritage identity, but we should also learn to adapt ourselves to our new environment.
My last question po is, where can we purchase your book, Gemma?
Actually, I just have 8 books left, and I plan to reprint. But I have 8 books there. If you want to buy $25, and I will do the dedication and sign it for you. And online, I don't have it yet online. It's very private. Like, I wish it could be worldwide, be known, but I'm still shy. I don't know why. I'm still a Gemma. Gemma with a small G. Gemma means a bud, a flower. It hasn't blossomed yet. It's still timid. It's waiting for the right time to blossom with the help of the natural elements. Now I have gone through those stages of blossoming, but I'm now a Gemma with a capital G, a fully bloom. I've achieved a lot, but there's still that shyness in me. I don't know why.
Once again, thank you po, Tita Gemma, for joining us today and sharing your stories.
You're welcome, and thank you to Dalagita for inviting me to share my thoughts to all of you.